Will you join me in prayer? Speak, Lord, for your servants listen. And as this servant speaks, let him be ever mindful that beyond all those he sees is one he does not see, but who always, always listens. Amen. Amen. Do you know what a kiva is? Kiva, K-I-V-A. Well, some of you I see shaking your head, so you probably know, and maybe you've even been close to one, like Peg and I were a couple of years ago. But a kiva is most well known as a central part of the Native American Indian nations of the Southwest. And it is either a square or a circular underground chamber, and it's covered by a roof with wooden beams with an opening in the center. The only entrance to the kiva is by descending a ladder. And once inside, you are in darkness. The only way out of the kiva and into the light is by way of the ladder. Now, for Indian communities of the Southwest, the kiva is sacred space. It is a central part of the community, and it is usually physically located either in the center or a prominent place in the community, not unlike many churches in New England that are right in the center of town, right? Or on the town green. But unlike most churches and cathedrals, that when people enter, they point up to the heavens, the kiva takes one down into a space of silence and darkness, a womb, if you will, which reminds those who enter into that space that we began in darkness and in silence. We were born in this nurturing darkness, a place of nourishment and growth, and that as we emerge from Mother Earth, we are still a part of her. We can only grow with the gifts that she gives day by day and moment by moment. It is a place to enter into the silence of life, to be still, to listen to one's own heart, to listen to the heartbeat of earth, and to listen to the heart and the voice of the Creator, of God, before then climbing the ladder into the light. Now, as I was reading this, this Psalm of Ascent some time ago, which, by the way, is one of the last Psalms of Ascent, with only 3 verses, and is the second shortest of all the Psalms. Do you know which one's the shortest? You can't. Anybody know which one's the shortest? And no, Davida, you can't, and Julie, you can't either. Anybody know? Okay, don't look in the Pew Bibles. It's Psalm 117. It has 2 verses. Anyway, as I was reading and thinking about this Psalm of Ascent and all the Psalms of Ascent, I thought about the kiva and what it means to indigenous peoples, and I thought about how much of its meaning and purpose is so similar to the Psalms of Ascent, particularly this one. And in these 3 verses, the psalmist reminds himself or herself who they are. My heart is not lifted up. My eyes are not raised too high. I do not occupy myself with things too great and too marvelous for me. I have calmed and quieted my soul. The psalmist is honest with himself or herself about who he or she is. Humble. His heart is not lifted up and eyes not raised too high. She doesn't spend time with things too great and too marvelous. The psalmist is humble. Humility. I don't know if you know this or not, but the English word for humility or humble comes from the Latin word humus, which means soil or earth, ground, dirt, which we often see as nothing, right? Ugh, dirt. Ugh. But think about it. The humus, or hummus, I don't know how it's pronounced. I don't say hummus because I'd love to eat hummus, so we'll call it humus. But the humus, the soil, the dirt, the earth is where trees and plants and grasses take root. It's where our food comes from, which along with water and air and light gives life. Right? It's the space and the place on which we live. It's where we live. It's where we come from. It's a blessing. Humus. Humility. But let's be honest. In the English-speaking world, in at least the last, 400, 500, 600 years, we've kind of screwed up the meaning of humility. Right? Being humble, posturing humility as something that's self-effacing, beating ourselves up, making ourselves like something like, like a used or broken up piece of asphalt, or something like that, in order to do what? Keep us in our place, keep us humble. I don't know about you, but we do that so often, that self-degradation, putting ourselves down. But I do know that that way of looking at ourselves puts up a wall to seeing and acknowledging who we really are, who we are meant to be, and then living it, which is the very meaning of humility. But hey, we are of earth. We're earthlings. And that's something very good, right? Born of the very stuff of life, arising from and living in the very womb of life, like the Kiva reminds us. And it's what the great creation stories in Genesis 1 and 2 point out very clearly. Do you remember that story in Genesis 2? Where God creates and forms the human, which is the Adam in Hebrew, from where? Where are we created from in that story? Well, if you remember, the ground, soil, land, which is the English translation of the Hebrew word Adamah. The Adam is created from the Adamah. See the connection? And in Latin, it is the human from the humus. And then God breathes into the human being. Do you remember? The Adam, the breath of life. And the Hebrew word that's translated in English breath is ruach, which is the very same word that we read in the first creation story in Genesis 1, when the wind or breath or spirit of God, the ruach of God, sweeps over the face of the chaos, the waters, to bring life. I am convinced that one of the things that these stories have been trying to convey for over 3,000 years is that we are created in the image and likeness of God. All human beings, you and me, all human beings. And B, that we have the very breath of God within us. You, me, and every living being also has the very breath of God. And if you're skeptical about that one, take a look at Psalm 104, verse 30. You don't have to do it right now, unless you're bored. But that's for another sermon. But God breathes into all life. It's here, within us. I agree with the late mystic and prophet Archbishop Desmond Tutu. You've heard of Desmond Tutu, right? Who once prayed, "God, you are as close as a prayer. You are breathing in my breath." Do you suppose that this is why the psalmist's soul was calm and quiet? That he or she experienced, felt deep in the soul, the very breath of God within? That deep down, the psalmist knew that God wasn't only with her, which is true, but within her. I'm pretty sure that the psalmist would have understood the 14th century Christian mystic and teacher Meister Eckhart, who once wrote, "A pear seed grows into a pear tree, and a hazelnut seed grows into a hazelnut tree, and a seed of God grows into God. God does not ask anything else of you but to let yourself go and let God be God in you." Sometimes we forget that, don't we? I don't know about you, but I do. I sometimes forget that we're not somehow separated from, apart from the one who created and continues to create us. And we're not separated from, apart from all of life. We're not radically different than other people and other creatures. We are an integral part of the community and intimately connected to everything else. And followers of Jesus, you and me, how often we forget what Jesus called people in the Sermon on the Mount in Matthew 5. Do you remember? Salt of the earth. What else? Light of the world. Light of the world. How often, however, do we put that light under a bushel basket? Just like Jesus said, don't do. And sometimes we forget amazing wisdom, like what comes from Marianne Williamson, who expressed it so beautifully. Our deepest fear, she wrote, is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Well, actually, who are we not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence liberates others. Light of the world. Or like a weaned child. That's what the psalmist sings. Though having left the absolute and complete protection of mother's side, weaned now, though still a child, the psalmist is saying that the children of Israel have transitioned to, or are about to transition to, another way, a different way of relating to God. Basically, the psalmist is proclaiming that the times, they are a-changing. Remember Bob Dylan? And in these changing times, you will not have the same experiences that you did in the good old days, whatever those good old days were, including the ways in which you related to and experienced God. Because this image of a weaned child in the new days in the Psalm of Ascent is helpful, because when you think about it, an unweaned child is utterly and totally dependent on mother for what? everything. Everything, right? Some of you, a lot of you, remember that, and some of you are experiencing it right now. Right now. But when a child no longer feeds from his or her mother's breast, when a child begins to explore and become aware that there is more in life than this unbelievable tender care and nourishment and comfort of mother, there is going to be a change. There has to be a transition in the relationship, great or small or somewhere in between. That child learns that this absolute nourishment, comfort, and protection for everything in this world that he or she has experienced can't last forever. You have to step out to ascend. Psalm of Ascends. You got to climb the ladder to the light to become who you were created to be, to grow. And it'll come. In a different way, it will come. Mother will still be there. God will still be there always. But in a different way, a new way. The prophet known as Isaiah, those of us that studied it, called 2nd Isaiah, put it this way while the children of Israel were in exile in the 6th century BCE. Behold, the prophet says on behalf of God, I am about to do a new thing. Can you see it? It seems to me that this recognition of the ever-presence of God in this new and different ways is another reason for the calm and quiet of the soul. So let me ask you, are you in the same place in your spiritual life as you were, say, as a child? Whether you grew up in a church or not. How about when you were a teenager? Or a young adult? Or how about 10 years ago? Or how about last week? Things change, don't they? Everything changes. Our worldviews changes, our culture changes. And I've met so many people through the years who have gone through radical changes in their spiritual lives for all sorts of reasons, and I won't go into that right now. But what I've been blessed to be a witness to with amazing people like these, those who have traveled these roads in their changing times, is that yes, their experiences and their relationships with God have changed. And that amid the joys and the sorrows, the successes and the calamities of life, we can always return to Mother, to God. No, it is not going to be the same way. It's not going to be the same. Because like the kiva, you descend into the womb at the heart of life, at the mother's breast, as an unweaned child, but we can't stay there forever. At some time or another, you have to ascend. We have to climb the ladder to the light. And like the psalmist, we have to continue to grow and be the light of the world. It isn't easy, I know. And yet I'm with the farmer and poet and environmentalist Wendell Berry, who wrote, "It might be that when we no longer know what to do, we have come to our real work. And when we no longer know which way to go, we have begun our real journey." Our real work is to live who we have been created to be, the light of the world, to shine for the sake of the world that God so loves. And our real journey, well, that's alongside of one another. That's with one another and in harmony with all creation and with God, who is always, always, always with us, living within us. Probably not the same way than when we're at our mother's side. But God is here with us, always, always. Amen.
Amen.